Ooh, what up, though, everybody? This is Kyle, and it's another Thursday edition of Knockouts and Three Counts. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a somber episode for us. We got, a great guest for us tonight with Chad Decker. But before we get started, Corey, I thought it would only be right that, like you saw in the intro, we want to show a little love to our fallen comrade, Mr. Dave Phillips. For those of you who don't know, Dave and Podcast Detroit have been our producers since the inception of this show back in 2017. So we just lost Dave last night, and Dave was with us on the Tuesday episode. So I thought it'd only be right that we start today's show off by dedicating it to our fallen comrade, Mr. Dave Phillips. Dave, you were always good people. I know you're having some members mark whiskey up there since you were talking to the homies over there up there in heaven, man. So until next time, brother, man. We'll see you down the road. But we've got a great episode for you tonight. As I said, we are joined by Bad Chad Decker. Kind of ironic considering I'm wearing an Iron Mike Tyson shirt. But we're here with Bad Chad Decker off of his fight for XFC at XFC Young Guns 1. Brother, man, how you doing tonight now that you're back here in cold-ass Michigan since you just came back from Vegas?
Good. It was 85 when I left. It was like 36 when I landed. So that tells you. It's good to be back, though.
I was out there all day today, man. That wind was whipping too, man. It felt every bit of that 35, if not colder than that wind, man.
Well, throw out your social medias and let everybody know where they can find you and all that good stuff.
I appreciate it's Bad Chad Decker on Instagram and then just Chad Decker on Facebook. That's all I have for now. I'm not really a big Twitter guy or TikTok or anything like that. But I try to keep people posted on those two platforms for now.
Well, Corey, we know that you're a lazy bastard. I mean, only use Twitter. But go ahead, throw your Twitter out and let everybody know where they can find you.
The thing is I am the complete opposite at this point. I have migrated my ass away from Facebook. Never even bothered with Instagram. And here I am. You can only find me on Twitter, Fight Fan from the 313. And, let's get to it.
All right. Well, like we said, man, you had quite the busy weekend. You, along with fellow past guests of the show, Austin Bashy, went to war this past weekend at XFC Young Guns 1. Both of you guys getting a W, and, another great event for XFC. Shout out to the president, Mr. Myron Malaki, who also happens to be a past guest of this show. Before we get started, I mean, give me your thoughts on that. What was the process for you getting into XFC? Did you go through the whole tryout? If so, tell me about your experience through that, and what are your thoughts on the overall fight itself?
I actually went through the tryout, and I went back in, I want to say June, somewhere beginning of summer. Came back to Michigan, did the tryout at SFS. It was a good experience. There's a lot of people that came out. I actually went to the heavier division, but it was still got some good rolls. Went through that. They called me back for the spar or whatever. Did that at the end. And then I wanted to still stay amateur, so I didn't go on the first one because it was an all-pro card and just waited for this one. Pretty much going into this fight, being out for like 15 months, that was it was fun. Got to pretty much do a whole year and a half of training. I was out for maybe a month from COVID. And then pretty much doing 2 days after that until the fight. And it was pretty much what I thought it was going to be. He came in trying to wrestle a little bit. I wanted to stand up a little more, but ended up taking him down and pretty much did wall work from there.
I mean, you looked incredibly dominant there, but I want to get – what's your thought process there with the thought of staying amateur? What's the reasoning behind that?
Just experience, just to get a couple more fights. I've had a 5-round fight, so I'd like to do that. However, we got to set that up. That'd be fun. Just pretty much experience. Just get as much as I can before turning pro.
Yeah.
So along with that, like those who know that you've been training here in Michigan and Michigan Top Team and out there in Vegas. Now, before we went live, you were telling us that now you're going to be training full-time out there in Vegas. So tell me a little bit about, you getting into MMA. How did that happen? Like what brought you to MMA and what, prompted the move for you to move from Michigan and then go out to Vegas?
So I pretty much got into MMA. I wrestled since I was 3 years old. Just loved it. I mean, I was completely in love with wrestling growing up. Wrestled right up to all the way through college at Eastern Michigan. Did 3 years there. Ended up fighting. At the third year, I ended up stopped wrestling. I had a knee injury and just kind of detoured from that and just wanted to fight. Went to Michigan top team, was trained there for a year, then took my first amateur fight. Had 6 fights from 13 month span there. And Cody, I was living with Cody Stamen, and he got hurt. He hurt his shoulder, ended up coming out to the PI for therapy and all that. And he ended up getting a good fit out here. And I came out and started training with him out in Vegas, and it was just a good fit at the 10th Planet and the Xtreme Couture. And I just, I fell in love with being down here and just went with it from there. Moved January of 2020 and been out there ever since.
Well, I mean, you picked a hell of a good time to get out of Michigan, being that we were going through the pandemic and all that good stuff. Cody also happens to be a past guest of the show, which you can check out in the archives. Cody's also a multiple past guest of the show. With that being said, Xtreme Couture is obviously a room full of killers. So was there any acclimation process it took you to get over there to start training? And was there any real big difference in the competition level from what you're seeing here in Michigan to going over there in Vegas?
There's for sure a difference. I mean, you're training with a lot of guys with the mindset of everyone's trying to knock on the door of the UFC. Someone's in the UFC. Either way, they're trying to get into the big show or they're in the big show. So it's just a room full of people just trying to do the same thing. And not everyone's going to get it. So it's kind of just, it's pretty competitive. At first, my wrestling just kind of has always helped me out with that. So that keeps me in the game for sure. Picking up on the boxing stuff just down there is just ever since I moved, it's just been a game changer. Been getting better and better. So it wasn't too much of a difference for me getting used to it, but it was nice. It was a good move.
So do you think that helped you get ready at all for fighting on a stage like XFC? Because XFC, they're being streamed with, and they're on Fox Deportes. I mean, obviously a big stage for you to be fighting on, especially still as an amateur. Do you think training out there at Xtreme Couture made it to where, maybe there wasn't any nerves with it being on TV and all that?
I don't know. I don't really think about the audience. I just think about the person punching me in the face. So I don't think that's really going to affect me too much. That's just how I feel. I've always been pretty good with the crowds and stuff. They don't really get to me too much. I mean, I got to fight when it comes down to it. It don't really matter who's watching, whether it's 5 people or 100 people. It doesn't matter.
It's funny to hear your thought process on that, because I hear it a lot from a lot of these podcasts and stuff that I watch from a lot of these bigger guys that have fought during the pandemic and stuff, and went from fighting in front of sold out venues to empty arena. And a lot of them, some of them don't notice a difference. A lot of them let it really get to them. A lot of them feed off the fans, and a lot of them don't. It's just interesting to hear it. To you, it's just kind of, whether it be 1 million people or 500 or 2 people, you're more focused on what's actually going on than any of the background noise. So.
Yeah, I think that's a lot to do with just wrestling. Growing up with having so much experience with that. I mean, I've been in rooms that are cold as hell, and I still got to get down. I've been in rooms that are hot as hell. I still got to go. It's been a Tuesday. It's been a Saturday. You know what I mean? It's just my whole life. So I don't know, just always being prepared to compete, and I think that's been what's been beneficial going into my fighting career.
Well, and at a lot of the wrestling meets and stuff too, you'll see multiple mats with multiple matches even going on at the same time. So if there is a large crowd, you can kind of tune it out and just say, "Oh, they're watching these guys. They're not paying attention to what the fuck I'm doing over here." That's all good. It is funny though.
It's funny you bring that up, because that was actually what I was going to ask. You hear a lot of guys when we're talking about fighting, especially in MMA, that wrestling is one of the better disciplines you can start with when it comes to MMA, because a lot of fights end up on the ground. I actually got to do my first crack at commentary for the Henry Ford Hawks during their last wrestling meet. And even having competed in wrestling and things like that, man, it's crazy how, just like you said, you know, you don't know who you're going against most of the time. You know, you might know who's in your bracket and things like that. But I feel like that gives you an advantage going into a sport like MMA, because then I feel like it doesn't matter as much maybe as to who the opponent is. It more matters on where your game plan and things like that are. And with you being out there at a camp like Xtreme Couture, I mean, you're in the perfect place for that. That being said, I mean, Xtreme Couture's had a lot of business around it lately, being that you guys got the new heavyweight champ coming out of there.
And bantamweight champion.
Right.
And bantamweight champion.
You know, so I mean, you guys have got a room full of killers there. What were your thoughts on that fight last weekend, man? I mean, obviously you had your fight, but have you gotten to check out the Stipe and Ngannou fight? And if so, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it was I don't know. I didn't think Stipe was gonna be able to do it again, but I was hoping, and like, I don't know. It was one of those where like Francis is at Xtreme, but you know, you got Stipe the wrestler, but I didn't really tune in too much, but it was sweet, and it was like bittersweet, you know what I mean? Like trying to support wrestling crowd, but you know what I mean, trying to support the gym. So that was funny, but it was pretty cool that Francis won.
Have you had any direct interaction with the champ at the gym?
No, not really.
No.
He comes in spars. There's 100 guys in there. There's a lot of them where, you know, the bigger guys are at the other end of the gym, so we just try to stay on the other side, you know what I mean? I'm with
that's something he actually alluded to in one of his videos as well, is the fact that they kind of do like a segregation in the gym of big guys and small guys. So it's funny to hear you bring it up too.
Yeah, it's a big gym, man. They fill it. They fill every bit of it in spar a day.
Look, man, all I'm going to say is, again, as we talked about when we were doing our preview show, which if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, or hit that like button so that you don't miss any of it. When we did our UFC 260 preview, I popped up the picture on the screen of myself and Francis Ngannou, and after seeing how big that guy's fucking fist is compared to my head, and I got a big-ass chrome dome, I'm not trying to get hit by that dude either, so I don't blame you for going with the segregation rules on that one, being that he's that much bigger. That brings up another good question. With you being, you know, the majority of your fights were at 155. You know, now that you're coming down to 145, do you feel that you're going to be just the bigger guy at that weight class? Do you feel healthy at 145? Do you think you might eventually go back to 155? How'd you feel on your first fight at 45?
Oh, 45, it felt great. I mean, that's where I'm staying. I finally got back down to like a weight class where I can compete like with guys that are my size. I've been trying to do that for like past 6-7 years. And I mean, it was like detrimental to my college career. I'm wrestling D1, trying to wrestle 174. You know what I mean? So like I struggled with that for a little while and finally got over that hump. So that was nice. And I'm really excited to compete at 45.
So when we were talking before we went on the air, you said that you want to be very active. Well, a little birdie, or Myron Malaki, told me that they're looking to see you get back in the cage as early as May. So how often would you ideally like to be fighting? Because, you know, that's a trend that we're seeing in MMA a lot more now. You're seeing a lot of people, you know, wanting to take as many fights as possible, especially being, you know, that we're going through this whole COVID pandemic thing. You don't know how many fights you're going to get. So I feel like people are trying to get all the fights they can get in. So for you, how often are you trying to fight as you get ready to go pro? And how many more amateur fights are you looking to take before you want to go pro?
So I mean, I didn't get hit that last fight, so I didn't take no damage. I just got into a grappling match, and you know, it was nice getting comfortable in there again. So I want to keep rattling them off. I just gotta get back down to weight, and you know, I'm not too bad. I got a little heavy, but I'll just get back down. And May's perfect for me. I'd want to do it at 45 again, and just let me know where the location is.
Well, Myron, you heard the man. He said, sign the damn contract. He wants to fight. And we've got people chiming in the comments. You got Terry Bowman coming in, Team Decker. We appreciate you watching, sir. So, like I say, I was impressed by the performance. It's good to see Michigan boys like you and past guests of the show, Austin Bashy and Nick Horton, and all these guys that are going up to fight for XFC. What are your thoughts on XFC as a whole? Because XFC, for the most part, was based out of Brazil, and now they're coming back to make their big return. They're doing the tournament feel, and with a promotion like XFC Young Guns, where they're giving young guys like yourself a platform. I mean, what are your thoughts on how XFC stacks up with all these other big promotions?
I think it's pretty cool. They got guys, they're trying to build a whole amateur to pro. Like, I like what they're doing. The whole setup out there was really nice. Everything was sweet. Like, they had a really nice setup. Only thing about the cage, man, all the sponsors are slipping on the thing. Other than that,
well, yeah,
that's my complaints. Just because, like, it was slipping on each sticker. But other than that, the whole setup was sweet. They had a really cool setup. This live stream was cool. Everyone said they were able to watch my fights. So, yeah, I think they just got to keep going, obviously, and build back up. They're coming back, so you just got to see how it does.
Yeah,
hey, man.
I think the COVID pandemic hit us all a little hard last year, and them included in that with them, trying to fire up a new, revamp of the promotion during that time. I mean, you can see, though, they're really making steps in the right direction, and I can't wait to see what they do with the next mainline XFC promotion event.
Well, it looks like they're getting ready to go because, like I said, Myron said he's looking to get you back in the cage in May, and I, for one, am looking forward to seeing it. All right, I told you before we got on here to be ready because I was going to throw some things rapid fire at you. So, all right, a couple of the other things I saw when I was doing, my research. I noticed that you had shared out a podcast earlier. Do you do a lot of interviews, man? Are you doing podcasts yourself? Like, I mean, I saw a couple things shared out.
No, I think I shared my buddies. I want to say earlier, Aleko Pointer from Ohio. I want to say he was on the podcast. But I haven't been on a podcast really, an interview. I think I was on one maybe like a year and a half ago with Manib. I forgot which one he did.
Past guest for this show.
Yeah. We did one.
Yeah, most of the Michigan guys have probably been on here at some point. Or another.
But no, I haven't done the podcast, so I'll definitely open to do them and keep doing the interviews and stuff.
I just saw that and I'm like, man, is this man getting into the podcast game too? Like, look at you trying to be all multifaceted, man, doing my research down the streams and all that good stuff. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, like I said, I got a couple more things I'm going to throw your way. So, first of all, what are your thoughts on Kevin Holland?
Kevin Holland, yeah, he got mauled last time, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
He can talk as much as he wants, but you just got to perform if you're going to talk. So, that's how it is. You can't really talk when you're getting mauled like that.
I absolutely agree with you. Did you see the fact that he's stepping in for an injured Darren Till against Marvin Vettori?
I did see that.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
What are your thoughts on that fight?
That's going to be a rough one. Marvin Vettori's looked like a complete different.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be good for Kevin Holland. I think that's that's kind of I don't know. It's like one of those he's going to get paid last second, and even if he loses last second, it doesn't look that bad. But
because he can use the no camp thing. But I thought that when I saw that matchup too, I'm like, man, to jump right back in there after that last performance, man, that's a hell of a fight to take to do that because, man, Vettori's going to come in there and try to knock his fucking block off.
And I feel like a big issue. A big issue in that last fight was the fact that Brunson was just so much bigger than him, and I feel like Marvin Vettori is even that much bigger than Brunson. So I mean, we're going to see like levels to the size game at 185, I think, but it's going to be an interesting matchup, that's for sure.
I thought he had Brunson hurt in the second, but he just kept ending up on his back. That was pretty much the storyline of that fight.
Man, I think, and here's the thing, man, like that fight too, Brunson not only controlled the pace of that fight, but here's the other thing too. I feel like people were so like jumping on that hype train with him getting that knockout over Jacare, but I mean, people forget that even though Derek Brunson's kind of had some like stumbles when he got to the more the next level opponent, right? When they try to give him his step up, that's where he's kind of stumbled a little bit. The guy has still fought a who's who in the division. So that was the thing. It was funny when we were watching that fight because I self-admittedly betted on Kevin Holland. And when I saw the odds on what it was for Brunson, I'm like, son of a bitch, dude. Son of a bitch, dude. He owned the fight, and I could have won some easy money on a basic decision win, man. I was like, son of a bitch. But where do you think we see Brunson go from here? Because they're going to have to give him another step up fight, but who is that? And do you think he can make it over that hump this time?
I don't know. His wrestling was looking pretty good. I think he might be able to. What win streak is he on?
That's 3 fights, I believe.
It's 3.
Okay. Yeah,
I believe it's 3 because he was on. Okay, it was either 3 or 4 because he was on it. I knew he had at least 2 going into that last fight.
Yeah.
I'll double check before we get done on this show, but I believe he's on at least 2, if not a 3-fight win streak. So I mean, they're gonna have to give him somebody up in the food chain, but it's just a question of whether or not he's gonna be able to, get over that next big hump with it.
Yeah.
Before we finish up with the MMA stuff, you let us know before you came on that you did used to watch a little bit of the wrestling. So our show also covers pro wrestling. As you guys know, if you guys have been following us for a little while, you can see the likes of WWE Hall of Famers like Booker T and Stevie Ray, Diamond Dallas Page, some of the hottest guys on the indies and everything in between. So did Bad Chad mess with the wrestling at all? And if so, who were some of your favorites growing up, man?
Yeah, I just remember when I was really, really young. So like probably up until I was like 9 years old, I used to like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like the Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. He was a big hit right around then. And I remember Kane. And yeah, I went to the Booker T and Undertaker, and then Brock Lesnar matchup when I was like 8, and that was cool. Then it was at the Palace Auburn Hills.
Okay.
And yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, I kind of got out of that.
Right? Out of it. We always got to ask if you dabbled in the wrestling side. Corey's not the biggest wrestling guy. I cover both ends of it. But yeah, I had to see where your thoughts were on that. Since you said you grew up around the time when Brock was doing his thing in WWE, what were your thoughts on his run in the UFC?
Oh, I remember Frank Mir ripping his leg off like right when he got in. And, yeah, he had a good little run, I guess. He was just in it for the money fights, but it would have been cool to see how he would have done right out of Minnesota.
So,
like right back in the get-go, like right out of
that's
college.
what I'm saying. I would have liked to seen where he did because, as a wrestler, a lot of people want to discredit a lot of what he did. But, I mean, a national champion is a national champion, whether it was at heavyweight or not. And it's funny because Devin and I were actually talking about this Tuesday night after we finished the show. It's funny to think about it because heavyweight, as we know from what we were talking about with Stipe, they don't usually defend the title much at heavyweight. But Brock is one of the few that had a couple defenses before he got rid of the belt, even though his one against Shane Carwin didn't look so great. He still got the job done. That's the funniest part. At heavyweight, man, you never see, these big, long, title reigns. But when you actually look at it, the guy defended the title a couple times too. I don't think we're ever going to see him step back in the cage again. But I had to see with you saying that's one of the guys that you watched with wrestling, what your thoughts were on his run, because I was ironically there in Vegas at MGM Grand when he won the title off of Randy Couture.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that was after my 16th birthday, because the first UFC I got to go to was when Liddell got murdered by Rashad. But
yeah, I remember that one.
Dude, that one was hard
for you though. Since you are training over in Vegas, have you had the chance to train with Aljamain Sterling, the new 135 champ, since he's made his move over to Vegas?
Yeah, he'll go over 10th Planet. I've had a couple rolls with him and stuff. Kid's tough. He's so tough. He's real tough. Real good grappler.
What's your thoughts on the way the fight played out and the unfortunate nature in the ending?
Shit. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people had said stuff, and I forgot. I'm trying to think of who said it. Someone said that basically the ref should have been the one to make the call, and I kind of agree with that. He's whether he's going to decide whether you're knocked out or not. He should be the one to decide whether you could continue or not. And that's a lot to put on a athlete, you know what I mean? So, whether he was hurt or not, he did what he did.
I mean, I'm with you on that one. Go ahead.
I absolutely think he was hurt, and I think he was already slightly hurt going into the altercation from the accumulation throughout the fight. And with the illegal knee landing on him, I think it was just it did push him over the line. And I think even if he would have tried to get up and continue to fight, it would have just led to an ultimate demise that wasn't initially going to be there before the knee. I feel like the knee would have really accelerated towards an ending. So I feel like he was completely justified in taking the route that he did. I take nothing away from Aljamain Sterling. I just want to throw that out there.
I definitely think there should be a rematch for it, for sure, set up. I think that's like an immediate rematch. It was questionably 2-2. And, that does suck if it's 2-2, and then you're getting, you're starting to lose the end of the rounds in the championship rounds. And then you get kneed and, it wasn't on you, but now you got to come back still. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the thing. People don't want to take into effect, but I mean, I've been knocked out in a fight before, and it's, like, you might be able to get up and keep going, but in a situation like that, I mean, where he's taking a full-on, full-bore knee to the face, people are like, what was crazy to me is the amount of people you saw on social media. Oh, he could have just got up and kept fighting. He was all right. Like, oh, he's being a puss because he wouldn't get back up. I'm like, dude. Like, he took a full-on, like, knee to the head on the ground like, you let me run up and knee you in the face, full bore, and let's see if you just get up and keep walking forward.
Yeah. As a fan of Aljamain, though, I just wish he would stop feeding into the trolls as much on social media as much as he is, man. He's really playing into these guys' wheelhouse, and he's the champ. Let him go in there. Let him work through a training camp and go in there and get that rematch and get paid championship money. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before I let you get out of here, man, and we talk about anything you got next and coming up and all those kind of things, one thing we like to do, we kind of mix it up based upon whether it's pro wrestlers or MMA guys. A lot of times when we're talking to wrestlers, we ask them, we've got a segment called Locker Room Etiquette. We've had everything from bring your, what are some of your pet peeves of the locker room? So we've had everything from bring your own wrist tape, wash your balls, keep your baby mama out the locker room, all kinds of different things. So for you, do you have any like superstitions or any type of pre-fight rituals or anything like that, or any type of thing like that before fight day, or is it just business as usual? You like a real quiet guy, but ahead of the fight, like to be by yourself?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. I just always get a workout in the morning, but other than that, I like chilling with my family and then just hang out with friends, my coaches at the time, whoever's cornering me. I'm not real big superstition. I don't like to do like the same thing over and over because if something goes wrong, I don't want to feel like, it's going to go bad. So like, I just hang out and just go with the flow. Try to at least,
I hear that. It's different for everybody because, man, some guys we get it. Like for me, man, I always like to hang out with people beforehand, but at the same time, like once it got closer, like just leave me alone, give me some music, let me get off to the side. Other guys, they like to have people around them all the time, so it's always a funny thing to get, man, because you get like 10 different answers no matter who it is you talk to. And that's why we, with us doing wrestling and MMA, man, we've kind of kept it a little bit on both sides because it's funny how much, even though wrestling and MMA, while they're looked at very differently, they parallel themselves in a lot. Before I let you get out of here, the last thing I wanted to get your opinion on, since we're talking about MMA and the overall perception and things like that. What are you thinking about this whole, with you being a wrestler, what are your thoughts on old Ben Askren taking on Jake Paul?
Man, I want Ben to win, but at the same time, I don't want to care about that fight. I hate the YouTube fights. Like, I don't know. I try not to pay attention to it, but at the same time, like, I want Ben to win. Like, I don't know. I hate that kid. Obviously, everyone hates that kid. He sucks.
Yeah, that's the worst part of it. I feel like the most people you talk to, it's like they want Ben Askren to win for the sake of MMA. But at the same time, it's like they more so want him to win just because they don't want to see Jake Paul embarrass MMA, dude. So I'm just hoping that like Ben's overall like fight IQ and the fact that he's been in way more fights, then Jake Paul is going to serve him well because, man, I can see it now. If somehow Jake Paul lands that fucking 1 in a million overhand right that he landed on Nate Robinson, who had no business in the ring, man, is it going to be a bad day for it's going to be a bad day for MMA, bro.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, he took shots. Ben Askren took shots from Robbie Lawler. He took some hammers, like sledge.
I agree.
So I think he could take a punch, and I think it's going to be a weird boxing match. Like, it's going to look funny. And I think Ben's going to be grappling with him, like, in the clinch more. It's going to, he's going to be pulling and wearing on him and
dirty box.
Make him wear his weight. I think it's going to be a weird fight, though. Definitely different.
I feel like that too, and with all the back and forth, dude, they're gonna it's gonna get dirty and it's gonna get scrappy. What were you gonna say, Corey?
I just feel like the biggest factor in this fight is it's gonna get dirty, right? But how much is the ref gonna allow them to get dirty? Who's gonna be the ref in the ring with them is gonna be the real difference. If they're gonna kind of let Askren kind of hang on him and, like you said, wear that energy out and kind of take them into the fighter rounds, you know what I mean? The rounds where Jake Paul has just frankly never been, and if he's allowed to wear on him a little bit, I feel like we'll see a totally different fight. But if he's getting broken up every single time they even attempt to clinch with each other, it's not gonna go well for old Benny boy. I don't feel like if they don't allow him to clinch a little bit.
Look here, bro. We need to hope for MMA's sake that it is, but I lean more towards what you said, Chad, in that I'm hoping that because Ben has taken more shots, he has to. Even if he wasn't sparring as much as everybody else with him being more of a wrestler, he's taken shots from so many guys. And I mean, everybody wants to point back to that knee, but I mean, dude, he was coming out. Masvidal's coming out full bore, running and throwing a flying knee and smokes a guy. I mean, I would go as far to say that has less to do with Ben's chin and the fact that was a 1 in a million shot that I don't think he times that perfectly again. So I feel like a lot of that is just one of those highlight reel knockouts where a novice fan might not know as much of what goes into it. But I tell you, it's funny because now they're saying they're going to run Usman versus Masvidal again. I'll be honest with you, dude. I don't think that fight plays out very well for Masvidal at this point. I think with Usman being over there with Trevor Whitman, I think Masvidal might get tagged up.
Yeah, I think it'll be about the same as what it was last time.
That's kind of what.
I honestly think it might end up in a finish for Usman. I think he's progressed his skills since moving over there to Denver, like you were saying, man. We've seen a different level. I mean, besides the early knockdown that he received in that Gilbert Burns fight, just the jab alone, he was able to control the fight in a championship level match with nothing but a jab. Essentially, it was amazing. It really was.
All right, well, we flapped our gums about all the MMA news. We've talked about XFC Young Guns. We've talked about Brock Lesnar and WWE and even the UFC. Well, before we let you get out of here, brother man, for anybody who, hasn't been privy to Bad Chad Decker or got to see any of your fights, what is it that those who are new to you can expect when you step into the cage next? Because it sounds like the fine folks over there at XFC and elsewhere are all looking forward, as we are, to seeing you get back in the cage.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully in May. I'm guessing we'll just talk to Myron and see what he's doing. But I'll be working my stand-up and wrestling, obviously. So stay tuned. I appreciate you guys having me.
Hey, man, like I said, we appreciate the time, man, and we'll definitely be in your corner. It won't be the last time we bring you on here. But, hey, man, we appreciate the time. And as always, if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Make sure you stay tuned as we will be bringing the Queen of Bad Street, the beautiful Miss Miranda Gordy, will be joining us next week. We've got Ray Lynn fresh off her debut for AEW on TNT coming the following week. And, hey, James Lynch might even be on here real soon, too. So make sure you stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button. And until next time and in the in-between time, peace.
Thank you.